Hello, good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. You're watching World Today. Before we begin, here's a brief look at today's top stories. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim stressed that true national development must be measured by how it improves people's lives, not by skyscrapers or modern infrastructure. In a Facebook post to mark Federal Territories Day today, he said, "Progress means little if some communities are left behind," stressing that growth must be shared fairly among all Malaysians. The Prime Minister hopes Thaipusam would bring peace of mind to all Hindu devotees while continuing to nurture harmony within the country's multiracial society. Deputy Prime Minister, meanwhile, said cultural and religious diversity is among the key foundations that shape the nation's identity. Iran's top security officials said progress have been made towards negotiations with the US. He said contrary to the hype of the contrived media war, structural arrangements for negotiations are progressing. The Defense Minister of Denmark reiterated that Denmark intended to have a stronger military presence in Greenland this year and in years to come. Greenland Prime Minister was also recently quoted that if forced to choose between the US and Denmark, Greenlanders would choose Denmark. Britain and Japan have agreed to strengthen defense and economic ties. Both nations set out some clear priorities to build an even deeper partnership in the years to come. Israeli airstrikes killed at least 32 people in Gaza, with most of the casualties children and women. Despite a US-brokered truce entering its second phase, violence in the Palestinian territory has continued. At least 15 security officials and 18 civilians have been killed as armed men launched coordinated attacks across Pakistan's Balochistan province in the latest incident in the violence-hit southwest region. Officials added that 92 separatists, including 3 suicide bombers, were also killed. A U.S. judge delivered a blow to Minnesota's bid to force immigration and customs enforcement to suspend its detention and deportation operation. The court finds that the balance of harms does not decisively favor an injunction. Women's singles shuttler Goh Jin Wei booked her spot in the Thailand Masters final after a hard-fought win over fellow Malaysian Wong Ling Ching. The independent player showed great determination and spirit to come from behind to triumph 17-21, 21-17, 21-16 in 57 minutes at the Nimbur Stadium in Bangkok. Elena Rybakina produced the thunderous display to dismantle Aryna Sabalenka 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 on Saturday and capture a maiden Australian Open title. Rybakina returned to the site of her heartbreak in 2023 to complete an impressive victory and earn her second major trophy after Wimbledon 2022, underlining her credentials as the player best equipped to puncture Sabalenka's hardcore aura.
Dunia digital penuh dengan kandungan ganas, eksploitasi kanak-kanak dan buli cyber berleluasa di luar kawalan. Akta Keselamatan dalam Talian 2025 atau AMSA dikuatkuasa untuk melindungi rakyat. Pengguna boleh bertindak atas kandungan yang berisiko. Setiap laporan yang dibuat, platform digital wajib bertindak pantas terhadap penyalahgunaan digital. Dengan AMSA, internet kini lebih selamat untuk kanak-kanak dan keluarga kita.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has stressed that all development efforts must be carried out equitably so that the benefits of progress can be enjoyed by all Malaysians without any group being left behind. In his message in conjunction with Federal Territory Day, he said national development should not be measured solely by physical achievements such as high-rise buildings, infrastructure advancement and modern facilities. Instead, it must also have a positive impact on the lives and welfare of the people. The Premier noted that every step forward must be anchored in justice and the needs of society. He stressed that the spirit of compassion, mutual respect and togetherness that forms the core of the Madani government will continue to be strengthened to ensure harmony, stability and well-being. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim conveyed Thaipusam greetings to all Hindus celebrating the festival. He said Thaipusam is rich in meaning, symbolizing sacrifice, reflection, spiritual strength and value of patience. As such, he said the discipline and perseverance demonstrated throughout the observance of Thaipusam deserve respect and collective appreciation. He said orderliness and harmony in every religion and cultural celebration in the country reflect unity within diversity of Malaysians. He hopes Thaipusam would bring peace of mind to all Hindu devotees while continuing to nurture mutual respect and harmony within the country's mutual or multiracial society. He also expressed hope that Thaipusam would be observed with gratitude and decorum while upholding propriety and values that form the foundation of communal life. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said the harmony enjoyed by Malaysia today stems from mutual respect and the willingness to share space as a nation anchored in unity. In this regard, he said these values must continue to be preserved to ensure the country's peace and stability remain safeguarded for future generations. Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid said cultural and religious diversity is among the key foundations that shape the nation's identity. In a social media post, he said, extended Thaipusam greetings to all Hindu devotees in Malaysia celebrating the festival. He expressed hope that the unity enjoyed by the nation will continue to be preserved so that Malaysia remains peaceful, stable and prosperous for the present and the future generations. Iran's top security official said progress had been made towards negotiations with the U.S., even as the Islamic Republic's army chief warned Washington against launching military strikes. Head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani, said contrary to the type of the contrived media war, structural arrangements for negotiations are progressing. Now, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said a broader conflict would hurt both Iran and the U.S. He said Iran has never sought and in no way seeks war, and it is firmly convinced that a war would be in the interest of neither Iran nor the U.S. nor the region. U.S. President Donald Trump also confirmed that there was a dialogue between Washington and Tehran. The U.S. has deployed warships led by the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier off Iran's shores. It has raised fears of a direct confrontation with Iran, which warned it would respond with missile strikes on U.S. bases, ships and allies in the event of an attack. Trump said he believes Iran will make a deal over its nuclear and missile programs rather than face American military action. Tehran, meanwhile, said it is ready for nuclear talks if its missiles and defense capabilities are not on the agenda. The Defense Minister of Denmark, Troels Lund Poulsen, reiterated on Saturday that Denmark intended to have a stronger military presence in Greenland this year and in years to come. Recently, Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, also said that if forced to choose between the U.S. and Denmark, Greenlanders would choose Denmark.
We have said last year when we made an agreement that we will have more military presence here in Greenland this year. We started up doing exercises together with other NATO countries last year in August and September. So we will have a more stronger military presence in this year and also the years to come, hopefully also together with our colleagues in NATO.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the United States needs Greenland for national security, but last week backed away from threats to seize the island by force and withdrew proposed tariffs on countries that oppose annexation. He instead launched diplomatic talks seeking greater access, though Washington already has broad permission to station troops there. Britain and Japan have agreed to strengthen defense and economic ties. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Japan and Britain are the leading economies in a trans-Pacific that includes fellow G7 member Canada.
We've set out some clear priorities to build an even deeper partnership in the years to come. That includes working together to strengthen our collective security across the Euro-Atlantic and the Indo-Pacific.
Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, meanwhile, said they agreed to hold a meeting of British and Japanese foreign and defense ministers this year. She added that two leaders agreed during discussions on economic security that a strengthening of supply chains is urgently needed.
経済安全保障パートナーシップの文脈では、重要鉱物の輸出規制への国際社会の懸念が高まる中で、重要鉱物を含むサプライチェーン強靭化のために、同志国全体で連携していくことが急務であるということで一致しました。
Starmer arrived on a one-day Tokyo stop after a four-day visit in China. Israeli airstrikes killed at least 32 people, including children, in Gaza. Despite a U.S.-brokered truce entering its second phase, violence in the Palestinian territory has continued. The Civil Defense Agency noted that most of the casualties were children and women. The agency spokesman, Mahmoud Basal, said residential apartments, tents, shelters, and a police station were targeted. A unit in an apartment building of Gaza City's Rimal neighborhood was left entirely destroyed. One strike hit the police station in the Sheikh Radwan district of Gaza City, the territory's largest urban center. Gaza's General Police Directorate said 7 people were killed in that attack, while Basal said that the dead included 4 female police officers. Another Israeli attack hit a shelter in Al-Mawasi, an area of South Gaza where tens of thousands of displaced Gazans live in tents and makeshift shelters. Key mediators, Egypt and Qatar, condemned what they said were Israeli violations of the ceasefire. Egypt demanded that all parties exercise the utmost restraint, while Qatar said it denounced the repeated Israeli violations of the truce. Separatists launched coordinated attacks across Pakistan's Balochistan province, killing at least 15 security personnel and 18 civilians. Officials said 92 separatists, including 3 suicide bombers, were also killed. Pakistan has been battling a separatist insurgency in Balochistan for decades, with frequent attacks on security forces, foreign nationals and non-locals. The military's media wing said attacks had taken place in multiple locations, including the provincial capital Quetta and Gadar. The Balochi Liberation Army, the most active separatist group in the province, claimed responsibility for the attacks. The group said it had targeted military installations as well as police and civil administration officials in gun attacks and suicide bombings. It added major highways were blocked to disrupt military operations. A senior military official in Islamabad said the attacks were coordinated but poorly executed, adding that they had failed due to poor planning and rapid collapse under effective security response. An explosion reported at a residential building in southern Iranian city of Bandar Abbas on the Gulf Coast was the result of a gas leak. A 4-year-old girl lost her life and 14 other people were hospitalized. State television said the explosion ripped through an 8-story residential building, destroying 2 floors, several vehicles and shops in the area of Molem Boulevard in the city. The local fire chief said the initial cause of the building accident was a gas leak and buildup leading to an explosion. Separate incidents were reported elsewhere in the country, but media outlets quickly dismissed any connection to an attack or potential sabotage. After rumors circulated online, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps denied that any of the buildings belonging to its naval forces in the province had been targeted. The government in Malawi has declared an outbreak of the polio virus type 2 following a detection in environmental samples. Now, Secretary for Health and Sanitation Dan Namarika said the virus was identified through routine sewage surveillance at 2 sites in the commercial city of Blantyre. The ministry has cautioned that the virus causes serious health risks and can cause irreversible paralysis, especially for children, similar to the wild polio virus. Following advice by the World Health Organization, the ministry is working around the clock to intensify measures to contain the outbreak. The ministry urged the general public to maintain food hygiene precautions to prevent the spread of the virus and to ensure the children are fully vaccinated. The ministry is putting in place plans to conduct supplementary immunization campaigns to protect children and prevent further transmission. A U.S. judge delivered a blow to Minnesota's bid to force immigration and customs enforcement to suspend its sweeping detention and deportation operation in the state. Masked and heavily armed federal agents have swept through Minnesota communities seeking undocumented migrants, detaining thousands and shooting dead 2 U.S. citizens in the process. On Minnesota's bid to obtain a temporary restraining order to end the federal operation, Judge Catherine Menendez wrote in a ruling that ultimately the court finds that the balance of harms does not decisively favor an injunction. Minnesota argues that the month-long federal operation violates its sovereignty as a state. However, Menendez said she was not making a final judgment on the state's overall case in her decision, something that would follow arguments in court. She also made no determination on whether the immigration crackdown in the state had broken the law. Ukraine's power grid experienced mass outages for several hours after a technical malfunction caused electrical lines between Moldova and Romania and Ukraine to fail. By Saturday evening, the power companies had restored power to all regions of Kyiv. Kyiv's metro system completely suspended operations during the power cut, paralyzing transport for thousands. Now, the emergency services helped evacuate almost 500 passengers stranded in the network when the power went down. The site of Ukraine's former Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which still requires electricity, also experienced a brief power outage. Ukraine's energy ministry said a technical malfunction caused a simultaneous shutdown of the 400 kilovolt line between the power grids of Romania and the Moldova and the 750 kilovolt line between western and central Ukraine. Hundreds of trucks formed long lines on Friday and Saturday waiting to cross the border between Colombia and Ecuador before the 30% tariffs on binational trade came into effect. The spat started when Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa said his government would impose a 30% security charge on goods from Colombia starting on 1st February, citing a trade deficit and a lack of coordination or cooperation on fighting drug trafficking. Colombia then suspended electricity sales to Ecuador and decided on imposing a 30% tariff on products from its neighbor in an escalating dispute over trade and the fight against drug trafficking. Ecuador in turn raised the tariff for transporting Colombian crude oil through the Trans-Ecuadorian pipeline system by 900%.
Tanto los importadores ecuatorianos como importadores colombianos hace 8 días han estado realizando sus importaciones, sus inventarios que los tenían para realizar en el mes de febrero, lo realizaron en esta semana. Y por eso el puente de Rumichaca sufrió un congestionamiento bastante grande.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
Now on to some sports news. National independent women's singles shuttler Go Jin Wei cruised into the Thailand Masters 2026 final after defeating compatriot Wong Ling Ching at the Nimbur Stadium in Bangkok. Now, the 26-year-old relied on her experience to stage a strong comeback, relying from a game down to beat world number 43 Wong 17-21, 21-17, 21-16 in a 57-minute encounter. Ranked world number 68, Go admitted she did not expect to emerge victorious, citing fatigue from her previous match and a high number of unforced errors. Despite suffering a bruise to her right thumb, Go said she would give her best performance in the final later today. She added that she has not set any specific target for the tournament, choosing instead to focus on doing her best and achieving the best possible result. In today's women's singles final, the Penang-born shuttler will face India's world number 63, Devika Sihag, who earlier upset Taiwan's world number 35, Huang Yu-shun, 22-20, 21-13. Elena Rybakina produced a thunderous display to beat firm favourite Aryna Sabalenka to win a maiden Australian Open title on Saturday, turning the tables on the world number 1 in their Melbourne Park final rematch from 3 years ago. Rybakina returned to the site of her 2023 defeat to complete an impressive 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 win and capture second major trophy after Wimbledon 2022, underlining her credentials as the player best equipped to puncture Sabalenka's hard-court aura. It was top seed Sabalenka who blinked first under the Rod Laver Arena roof as Rybakina came out all guns blazing to break in the opening game and take control. The fifth seed's booming ball striking caused all sorts of problems for twice champion Sabalenka, and Rybakina comfortably got to set point in the 10th game and finished it in style to send alarm bells ringing in her opponent's ding-out. Four-time major winner Sabalenka then found her groove and began the second set more positively, but Rybakina saved 3 break points to hold for 1-1. A wayward forehand from Rybakina handed Sabalenka the chance to level at 1 set apiece, and the Belarusian gleefully took it to turn the final set into a shootout. Sabalenka then unleashed a flurry of winners to go ahead 3-love, but Kazakhs erased the deficit and broke 4-4-3 before securing victory to add to all her England club triumph. Up next, Mattel releases new Masters of the Universe toy line. Mattel debuted a new line of action figures for its upcoming live-action film, Masters of the Universe. The toy launch builds on momentum from the new movie's first teaser trailer, released last week, which has since raked up more than 30 million YouTube views.
When you have a brand that has such a strong heritage, it's really important that you pay attention to the elements that made it successful in the first place, right? And that you pay honor to the original characters, to the original ideas. Obviously, you modernize it for today's age, but it's really important that you keep those key elements.
Stanichi emphasized the significance of entertainment-driven brands in today's toy market, saying the stories that come with the brands are really what makes the fans engage with them. The new line features detailed action figures of classic characters including He-Man, Skeletor, Battle Cat, and Teela. They will be rolled out globally from April, around 2 months before the movie hits theaters. At Yiwu International Trade Center, China's largest wholesale market, customers crowd into a small shop searching for an unlikely bestseller ahead of the Lunar New Year. The object drawing their attention is a red plush horse with a down-turned mouth, a gold bell around its neck, and eyes that appear to avert the viewer's gaze. The toy has gone viral on Chinese social media in the run-up to the holiday, which this year marks the Year of the Horse in the Chinese zodiac. Nicknamed the Crying Horse by online users, the toy was originally designed as a smiling New Year decoration. Its mournful expression, however, was the result of a manufacturing error. The toy's popularity reflects the mood of many young white-collar workers in China, some of whom say the dour expression mirrors long hours and workplace stress. It also taps into a broader trend for so-called ugly cute toys, popularized in recent years by characters such as Pop Mart's toothy monster Labubu.
因为这个酷酷马，它适合现在当代人上班呢，那它不可能过了年就不上班了吧，对不对？
A new exhibition dedicated to the evolution of the samurai over the past 1,000 years will open at the British Museum in London on Tuesday. Samurai offers exploration into Japanese tradition, history, and reinvention. The exhibition has 280 items on display, which include a suit of samurai armor, a female ceremonial firefighting jacket and hood, and a Louis Vuitton outfit inspired by Japanese armor. Museum caricature Joe Nicholas said the exhibition explores the development, impact, and change of the samurai throughout its history to the present day. Nicholas believes visitors to the exhibition will be surprised to learn that the lives of samurai involved developing cultural pursuits and managing their government civil duties, as opposed to the image of sword-wielding warriors. The samurai exhibition is open to the public from 3rd February and runs until 4th May. 5 Spanish military helicopters delighted beachgoers at a Rio de Janeiro beach with a performance marking the centenary of Spanish aviation. Visitors at Ipanema Beach were treated to an aerobatic display which included the aircraft making loops and also tracing the Spanish flag in the sky. According to local media reports, 6 Colibri helicopters were transported aboard 2 aircraft from Seville, Spain on 23rd January for the performance. The aerial display was performed by the Patrulla Aspa, the current Spanish Air Force helicopter aerobatic display team.
Las maniobras más complicadas o más técnicas son las que realiza él solo, como pueden ser el looping o la hoja de trébol, ya que requieren el máximo rendimiento del helicóptero.
The performance was part of the celebration to mark the 100th year anniversary of the Plus Ultra flight, which was the first successful plane crossing of the South Atlantic from the Iberian Peninsula in 1926. Well, that concludes today's edition of World Today. Till then, I'm Otto Othman. Salam Malaysia Madani, and thanks for watching.